A DC star gone before his most legendary starring turn. A sitcom star allegedly driven over the edge by a cruel interview. Hollywood is notorious for losing young people to addiction. In 2008, 28-year-old Heath Ledger's death left a void in Hollywood. In his second-to-last on-screen performance, the Australian actor brought the DC Comics villain the Joker to life in Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, which won Ledger a posthumous Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. Ledger's interest in acting started in junior high. After appearing in a handful of Australian television shows during the early 1990s, he starred in the classic 1999 film 10 Things I Hate About You. From there, his career included films like The Patriot in 2000 and Brokeback Mountain in 2005, for which Ledger ranked in nominations at the Golden Globes, BAFTA, and the Oscars.
I know I worked really hard to be in the position I'm in now. I really did.
On January 22, 2008, months shy of the release of The Dark Knight, Ledger was found dead at his New York apartment of an accidental overdose. His masseuse found him unresponsive. According to reports, she first called his close friend Mary-Kate Olsen and then called 911. Autopsy reports showed several different prescription drugs in his system. Prior to his death, Ledger was reeling from his breakup with actor Michelle Williams, with whom he shared a daughter, Matilda. In all his years of fame, Cory Monteith remained candid about his experiences with substance addiction. The Canadian actor, who gained renowned fame as Finn Hudson on the hit show Glee, had a troubled childhood. He had begun using drugs as a teenager, telling Parade magazine in a 2011 interview, "I was using anything and everything as much as possible. I had a serious problem." By the time he was 19, Monteith had been to rehab twice. After a period of abstinence in his 20s, Monteith began using drugs again, and in the months prior to his death, he had reportedly checked himself back into rehab. Monteith passed away on July 13, 2013, at the age of 31. His body was found in a hotel room in Vancouver. According to USA Today, the coroner's report confirmed the actor's death was due to drug toxicity that involved heroin and alcohol. Glee star Lea Michele, Monteith's on-screen and off-screen partner, was the one who unintentionally broke the tragic news to his mother.
I'm never gonna get out of this town, am I, Cory? You can do anything you want, man.
With critically acclaimed performances in Stand By Me and My Own Private Idaho, River Phoenix had established himself as a respected actor by the time he was 18 years old. He had also secured an Oscar nomination for his role in Running on Empty. A few years later, Phoenix and his girlfriend, Samantha Mathis, were at the Johnny Depp-owned club The Viper Room in Hollywood. Mathis stated that she found Phoenix convulsing on the pavement outside the club. Phoenix's brother, actor Joaquin Phoenix, called 911. Per reports, Phoenix died at the age of 23 in the early hours of October 31, 1993, from a cocaine and heroin overdose. There was talk at the time of murder charges being brought against the drug supplier. For a few nights after, Depp shut down his club as fans brought flowers and mementos to memorialize the late star. Joaquin, who won an Oscar for Joker in 2020, commemorated River in his speech and named his son River in memory of his late brother.
I'll see ya. Not if I see you first.
Chris Farley was the kind of comedian who could light up a room with his booming, larger-than-life presence. For years, he had America in stitches until tragedy hit hard. Back in December 1997, we lost him to a drug overdose at just 33. Like his hero John Belushi, Farley made waves on Saturday Night Live, joining the show in 1990 as one of the bad boys of SNL. He and Adam Sandler were tight buddies during those days. Farley's time on SNL lasted until '95, and he left us with some unforgettable comedy flicks like Black Sheep and the beloved Tommy Boy. Sadly, on December 18th that year, he was found in his Chicago apartment. Initial whispers said it was a heart attack, but later reports confirmed it was an accidental overdose of cocaine and morphine. Throughout his life, Chris battled obesity and addiction issues that saw him in rehab more than once. His last days were reportedly filled with partying too hard, a heartbreaking end for someone who brought so much laughter into our lives. John Belushi was a big name in American comedy, and for good reason. He was one of the original stars on NBC's Saturday Night Live, where he teamed up with his buddy Dan Aykroyd. Together, they became the iconic Blues Brothers after a memorable SNL sketch in 1976, which led to a band and some classic films. Belushi had an amazing run through the 70s, but there was always the shadow of drug issues hanging over him. Aykroyd once mentioned how much Belushi loved what cocaine did for him. Despite having moments of sobriety, it seems like his environment didn't help much with kicking the habit. When Hollywood lost Belushi to an overdose on March 5, 1982, he was just 33. It shook everyone up. The New York Times reported that he died from a mix of cocaine and heroin intoxication. On that fateful night at Chateau Marmont's Bungalow No. 3, acting legends like Robert De Niro and Robin Williams were part of his last party scene before tragedy struck. A story detailed in The Castle on Sunset. Kathy Smith later admitted to giving him those fatal injections and ended up serving time for it back in 1986, according to reports. Marilyn Monroe, one of the world's most iconic figures, had a whirlwind career that lasted about a decade. She lit up the screen in Hollywood classics like The 7-Year Itch, Some Like It Hot, and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. But behind all that glitz and glam was a childhood full of challenges. Born Norma Jean Mortensen, she bounced around between foster homes before stepping into the spotlight as a model and then an actress by 1946. By the mid-50s, she was snagging leading roles in big hits and became known as a major sex symbol. She even graced the first issue of Playboy in 1953. She mingled with some pretty high-profile folks too, including President Kennedy. Sadly, Marilyn's later years were marked by struggles with drugs and alcohol. A story explored in Netflix's The Mystery of Marilyn Monroe. On August 5, 1962, at just 36 years old, she was found dead from what appeared to be an overdose at her home in Los Angeles. While it was officially ruled a probable suicide, there's been endless speculation about what really happened on that fateful day. With just over a decade of work, Brad Renfro had established himself as a talented actor, even as his personal life was marked by continued drug use and run-ins with the law. He first entered the industry at 11 years old with the 1994 Joel Schumacher film The Client. Schumacher later told Vulture, "Brad was in trouble at 10 years old with the police already, drinking and smoking. Renfro had a hard youth, during which he was arrested several times for buying drugs, and once attempting to steal a yacht." A friend of Renfro's told BuzzFeed that his mother was partly to blame for making heroin accessible to him. For his part, Renfro was open about his problems.
I'm glad I got arrested because I've learned a lot. I've learned a tremendous amount.
Following his big screen debut, Renfro earned accolades as the celebrated character of Huckleberry Finn in Tom and Huck, with further films like Apt Pupil and Bully among his best works. His career came to an end on January 15, 2008, when he died of an accidental heroin overdose at age 25. The Los Angeles Times reported that he had been clean in the days leading up to his death. Tributes poured in from Hollywood, with Renfro's first co-star Susan Sarandon calling him the most incredibly gifted young actor. Now and Then has endured as an iconic coming-of-age flick, even decades after we first met the girl gang of Samantha, Teenie, Roberta, and Chrissy in 1995. The endearing character of Chrissy, played by Aston Moore, immediately became an audience favorite, as did the actor herself. The success was short-lived, however, with Moore drawing the curtains on acting by 1997. Exactly a decade later, she was dead. Aston Moore was 26 when she died of an accidental heroin overdose. Her co-star from the film, Thora Birch, recalled Moore as being a really cool kid, while speaking with ABC News, adding, "She still lives on as Chrissy to me." Besides Now and Then, Aston Moore is also remembered for her roles in the 1992 series The Odyssey and the 1995 film Gold Diggers, The Secret of Bear Mountain. Best known as the young girl from the Mel Gibson film The Patriot, Skye McCole Bartusiak was hailed as a talent at an early age, even though she didn't know who she was acting with.
I said, "Mel, I don't know who you are. I'm going to give you a little advice. Go on Nickelodeon."
Though only 7 years old when the film was released, she already had a few television credits to her name, including series like Storm of the Century and Judging Amy. She had become an aspiring director who was planning to start work on her first project when tragedy struck. On July 19, 2014, Bartusiak, just 21 years old, died in her Texas home. Bartusiak's body was reportedly discovered by her boyfriend, and her family believes she died of seizures and choking per CNN. TMZ reported that she overdosed on painkillers and muscle relaxers. Forensic reports asserted that Bartusiak's death was an accident. Her mother told CNN that the late actor had suffered epileptic seizures since childhood, and that she had performed CPR on her daughter on multiple occasions.
You know, you make me very happy.
One of the most memorable child stars from the 1970s and 80s, Dana Plato, gained fame as Kimberly Drummond on the classic sitcom Different Strokes after stepping into showbiz at age 6. In addition to commercials for Photomat and Wrigley, she had multiple roles for television and film before finding big success in Different Strokes in 1978. While on the show as a teenager, Plato got into drugs and alcohol, even overdosing at the age of 14, as reported by USA Today. Plato was deep into alcoholism by the late 1980s after the show ended. She notoriously robbed a store in Vegas in 1991, for which she was arrested. She later tried in vain to kickstart her failing career with B movies in the 90s. Plato was 34 when she died of an overdose on May 8, 1999 in Oklahoma. It was just a day after she appeared on Shock Jock, Howard Stern's radio show, when she swore she was off drugs during a controversial and antagonizing interview. Her death was ruled a suicide due to the fatal doses of prescription drugs found in her system. Almost exactly 11 years after Plato's death, her 25-year-old son also died by suicide. If you or anyone you know is struggling with addiction issues, help is available. Visit the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration website or contact SAMHSA's National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP 4357.